Hi everybody, it's Gina K from Gina K Designs, and I'm so excited to see you all. Welcome to Stamp and Chat. I see so many of you here from all over the United States and all around the world. And what I love is so many of you have already not just said where you're from, but you've told me how the weather is there. And I can't believe all the different weather patterns we're having all over the place. Some of you in warmer climates are having frozen frost and possible snow. And up here in Wisconsin, we had 65 degrees today. So yeah, Mother Nature's just, I don't know, she's wacky these days. Well, welcome everyone. Tonight, we're going to talk about creativity. And I am sure, just like so many of you, for me, sometimes I just lose my mojo and I just can't get it together. So tonight we're going to talk about jump starting your creativity and a bunch of little different things that I do to jumpstart my creativity. Now, creativity is the child that survived, right? But like the child, to be creative, you have to lose the fear of being wrong. I mean, how many of you have had kids around you when you're working on something and they say, I want to try, I want to try. They have no idea what it is. They have no idea if they're going to do it right, but they just want to try. Well, if we want to be really creative, we have to be like the child. We have to try something different, even if we think it won't work. An essential aspect of creativity is not being afraid to fail, or rather, or being afraid of failure. I mean, who cares if it doesn't work out? It's only a piece of paper, right? So tonight I am going to be playing with an ink blending technique and a little bit of colored pencil. And this is kind of a cheater's way to get a nice blend of color. I do this a lot, especially on die cut pieces, because sometimes I don't want those die cut pieces to have the white edge. So I use this ink blending technique and the colored pencil on top of it to create a nice shaded look, but it goes all the way to the edge. Now, before we get started, I want to just show you a little collage of things that I have. And I know I've showed you some of these things before, but let's just play with it here. Let me move my camera over here. I want to show you some of the things that I do and I make when I just have no creativity. These are my jump starts. So if I am thinking, I want to be creative, but I just don't know what to do, I will just stamp up a bunch of flowers and color them. Or I'll just sit with my alcohol inks and make a bunch of backgrounds with no specific project in mind. And I have boxes of these things laying around. So just the act of taking ink, taking a stamp, and putting it to paper is so relaxing and so enjoyable. And it's just what you need to get a jump start. So, oh, thank you. Somebody said that they like my purple. Well, I was thinking I'm going to probably use purple tonight. So when I take a picture at the end, I'll match my project. I also have a yellow version of my project to show you too. But I'm going to go overhead and show you just some of the things that I've made that really jump-started my creativity. So this is just an alcohol ink background. I was playing with alcohol ink and I was touching it and it felt sticky. It wasn't completely dry yet. And I thought, ooh, I wonder if, because it's sticky, if I put foil on top of it and rubbed it and pressed it, if the foil would stick. And can you see all of the shiny foil in there? It looks like polished stone almost with the gold. Well, that's just foil that I did on top. And that was not, I had no idea what I was going to make. I just knew I wanted to sit and play with alcohol ink backgrounds. So that's one thing I did. And then I tried another one and then I stamped on top of it and did a little bit of gold embossing. Now, these weren't projects that I had in mind, but ultimately they turned into a Stamp TV video. But this was just something to do to jumpstart mojo. I did a whole bunch of background stamps, just stamped them and embossed them in clear, and then I cut them out with die shapes. And I thought, these might be fun to use someday with some floral cascade and maybe a die cut word. So I just made a whole bunch of those. I always make greetings and then I mount them and I get them ready to go. I even sometimes put foam tape or foam squares on the back. Here was one thing that I was playing with. I stamped this image and then I just started playing with watercolor on top of it. This is almost a solid image, but it's got some interesting layering already built into the stamp. And so I just played with that. Here I was making some backgrounds and I tried putting a piece of masking paper over it to kind of lighten it up a bit. And that was kind of fun. That ended up turning into a video. Of course, wreath building. I have these all over my desk. I just make wreaths to see what the colors will look like together, to see what the different stamps look like. I was playing with the autumn wreath builder and I made a bunch of these. And these are great. These are ready to go. If I need a card in a hurry, I've got a card in a hurry. But I didn't have to really make anything except just play with the wreath builder and experiment with colors. And remember, if this doesn't work out, don't be afraid. It's only a piece of paper. You can throw it away. Here are some glitz backgrounds that I made. And here was one I stenciled, and then I wanted to see what it would look like to just put white dots with a white gel pen all over that water droplet stencil. You can tell I had no idea what to do that day, so I just sat at my desk and listened to a podcast and just put dots all over that. But it kind of turned out pretty cool. And then, of course, you guys have seen my whole little bag of flowers and leaves that I cut out, and I just make them. These do not take thinking. You don't have to decide to make a project to just stamp a bunch of leaves and flowers. And here I was playing with the diagonal stripe background stamp, and I did it this way, and then I crisscrossed it this way. So yeah, just fun things. Cut out die cut words and maybe stack them with some Connect glue so that they're nice and thick. There's 3 stacked on that one. And that's kind of just therapeutic. You can do that while you're watching TV or listening. I cut border dies, I cut shapes, get them all ready for whenever I need them. So these are just some Mojo starters that if you don't know what to make, that doesn't mean you can't stamp and you can't be creative. In fact, tonight I am going to mostly focus on just die cutting flowers and coloring them. But then at the end, I will make a card out of it. But you don't have to. You can just color these and make them and relax and enjoy it. So the stamp set that I'm going to use tonight is this one. This is called the Colossal Coneflower. Look how big these flowers are. Aren't they huge? Oh my goodness. I love these huge flowers because if I'm gonna cut or just sit and color, the bigger the better, right? So I'm gonna use these. This set was actually drawn by my daughter Alicia. She drew these flowers for me. I remember she drew them on a whim and sent them to me, and she said, I don't know if you could ever use a flower like this, but I just felt like drawing it. And I thought, oh my goodness, especially this side one. This is absolutely one of my favorite stamps in our collection. So I'm going to use this tonight, and then for my finished card, I'm going to use this little stamp here, the Much Love from the Lovely Words stamp set. This is one of my favorite greeting sets, and if you haven't gotten this one, maybe put it on your wish list because the greetings are really, really pretty. And if you put them with an elegant image, they look very elegant. And if you put them with a cute image, they look very cute. So it's a really versatile set. Okay. And then we have Heidi here from Simon Says Stamp. I asked her if she wanted to come in and link up some of these products that we're out of, because I know we're out of quite a few things. And also we are definitely going to be using the Simon Says Stamp blending brushes tonight, and I don't carry those. We're also going to be using the Picket Fence Studio life-changing brushes. I like these little ones for detail work, and we've been out of those for a while. So I think Simon might have some of those in stock. You can also head to your local craft store. A lot of them are back open doing curbside pickup. And if you don't have one and we don't have something in stock, Heidi is here coming to the rescue. Okay, so I have a piece of Gina K Designs white cardstock. Now, a lot of people have been telling me that they've been trying some of the techniques that I do with ink blending and wax paper and some of those things, and they're not having great luck. This cardstock is very different than most of the cardstocks that are out there. And a lot of people are using Nina cardstock, which Nina is really great cardstock for a lot of things. But if you've never tried ink blending on the Gina K Designs cardstock, I highly recommend you get even just a tiny shortcut half pack. We sell our cardstock in half sheets, and they come in both the shortcut, which would give you the A2 card that folds book style, and then we sell them in the tall cut, which is this kind of card where it opens this way, like tent style. And you can get that for just a couple dollars, and you can give our cardstock a try. I think you'll really be impressed. So I'm going to start by using the Embossing Magic Pad, and I'm going to rub this over the surface of this cardstock. And then I'm going to stamp this jumbo flower, and I think I'm going to need a big acrylic block. Let me grab that. So this is our comfort block. And if you haven't tried these yet and you're in the market for a block of any kind, these have these rounded edges, so they're not sharp. So when you hold, and they also are beveled in here, so you're less likely to drop the stamp. Now I say that, but I've still dropped the stamp because that's user error, right? And I'm going to use a little bit of VersaMark ink on here. I'm going to ink up this Colossal Coneflower. Now I like this stamp so much because you can stamp this and color it in a couple of different color combinations to make it look like a couple of different very popular flowers. So there's the Black-Eyed Susan flowers, which are yellow and they've got a little orange in them, and then they've got that real dark cone in the center. But there's also the purple cone flowers. So, I mean, you can, and there's red ones I've seen. So you can do these in just about any color you want. Now, I know you can't see that real well, but you might be able to catch it a little bit. I just embossed that with some of our fine detail white powder. Any fine detail white powder will work. And then I'm going to use, oh, I should plug my heat tool in. I'm using the Wagner heat tool. I like this one. It's a great heat tool, but any heat tool will work. I know that there are some heat tools out there on the market that do both drying and heating. I think the Wow embossing gun does that, and Tim Holtz has an embossing gun that does that, which is great. This one just does straight ahead embossing, and that's what I'm going to do right now. I just started it a little bit so I didn't have to hold it there for too long. You get a lot less warping that way. Okay. Okay. So now you can probably see that, well, maybe not, a little bit better. Well, you'll see it when I hit it with some color. So then I'm going to also stamp 2 of the leaves from this set. And I'm going to use these leaves. Let me show you. This leaf and this leaf here. So nothing like huge leaves. Let's see, I'll put one here and I will put one there. So I can stamp them at the same time. I'm just gonna pick them up on the block so I know they're evenly spaced. And then I'm going to ink these up with some VersaMark. Now, even though I already used the Embossing Magic Pad, I'm going to use it one more time, just in case I touched up there and I had a little VersaMark or something on my fingers. And I will just stamp those. Give those a good push. And again, I'm going to use my white embossing powder. That's the second time I've hit the camera tonight, so I'm sorry if you guys are getting seasick. All right, so they look pretty good. I'm not going to put that powder away because when I do my card, I'm actually going to use it one more time on the card base directly. So let's emboss this. Heat embossing is so cool and so much fun to do, and I think it's probably the one technique that got most stampers hooked. They might have never done anything before, and then they went to a stamping party or they went to a friend's house that crafted and they saw heat embossing, and that was the transformative moment. All right. So I'm going to start with a little bit of, well, let me see here. I'm going to start with some of the lovely lavender. And I'm using one of the Simon Says stamp brushes here. They do have a purple brush. When I pulled these brushes out of the pack, I just started using them for all different kinds of colors, and I didn't really give it a lot of thought, but they've got a really nice collection of colored handles, and you can be a little bit more color coordinated than I am. Okay, so I'm going to start inking this up. You should start to be able to see that flower coming out now. And I'm doing this because I just want to have a good base layer of color. And I'm going a little bit heavier in the middle. But what this is doing is this is taking color outside of the petals. So when I die cut that, you're not going to really see the edges as much. Okay. All right. Let me do a little bit more. This is a really light purple. It is such a pretty purple, though. I really like it. This actually coordinates really nicely with Plum Punch if you're doing two-step stamping. This color is in that same vein. Okay. Then I'm going to use one of the life-changing blending brushes. And I'm going to use a little bit of warm cocoa ink. And then I'm going to just ink that up, and I might rub a little bit of that off just so that it's not too dark. And then I'm going to start to add a little bit of that into the center here, and then just get lighter as I go out. And then I'll take a piece of paper towel and I'll just rub all over the surface to pick up anything that is sitting on the embossing powder. You can see that comes off. And same with down here. Okay. Looking good. So now it's time to add some detail. And this is where I want to have a little bit of fun with my pencils. So I have a couple different purples here, and I even have like a magenta. And I think I'm going to get a piece of extra cardstock here just to look at these colors. That might be a nice one. So this one is mulberry. So I'll start with that one and see how it works. Now I'm using a pencil sharpener. This is the iPoint Orbit pencil sharpener, but any pencil sharpener will work. I like the electric ones because my points don't seem to break very much. So for those of you that are looking for a pencil sharpener and you've been using a handheld one, you might want to, you know, switch over if you're having trouble with the points breaking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of that dark color right along the side there. Just like that. And then I'm going to do some up here. Probably go in with another color too. But this, you can just sit and relax and color these and then just cut them out and you'll have a whole bunch of them ready to go. Now I'm going to use a blending stump, and if you want to remove color that's on the blending stump, I recommend just taking a nail file or maybe some of the, I think Prismacolor actually has a sandpaper tool that you can use. Tim had a sand block that I used to use all the time. I'm not sure if that's still available, but any of those things will work really well. And you can see I was turning it as I filed it, and that's how I got rid of most of the color. Even though that color was pretty close, I just wanted to show you that. And in this little bowl here, I have Gamsol. Now I'm going to take my blending stump and I'm going to dip it into the Gamsol, but I'm not just going to like bloop, dip it in. You want to actually let the blending stump absorb some of that Gamsol. And then I'm going to blend out that color a little bit down into the petal. And I'm just coloring it down. Just kind of breaking down the wax. And you can see that is much more blended than the one next to it. That's what I love about Gamsol. I am going to bring back some of the old techniques that use other waxy products because I know we were talking about that in our Facebook group. And if you're new to my YouTube channel or to my live videos, we have a really fun Facebook group. If you're watching on YouTube and you get over to Facebook once in a while, it's called Gina K Designs and Stamp TV Friends. And love to have you over there. It's a private group, so we try to keep it very well moderated. We have great moderators over there. We have Kathy and Karen and Sammy and Barb, and lots of wonderful members who are so supportive, whether you're a brand new stamper and you just want to share your work and get some feedback, or you're an experienced stamper, you've been stamping for 20 years and you're looking for a place to share your Gina K Designs cards. We would love to have you over there. Okay, so I'm doing the same thing, just kind of coloring close to the lines and then taking that blending stump, dipping it in the Gamsol, and then blending out that color. You can see that just adds such a nice little bit of shading. And this, I love Gamsol. I know a lot of artists who are really good at coloring. They're not Gamsol fans because they have a lot of control over their pencils and their markers and their watercolor, and they can get that really beautiful shaded look. I gotta tell you, you're not looking at one of those people. I am not an artist by any stretch of the imagination. I am a stamper, I'm a crafter, and I just want to have fun. And anything that makes it easy makes it more fun for me. So that's my plan, is just to have fun. So blending stumps and Gamsol make it very fun for me because it makes me look like I know how to do a lot of blending and shading, but I don't. And it's okay. I mean, that's part of the whole crafting fun, is that we all have our strengths and our weaknesses, and it's just fun to try new things. So you can see this is kind of getting pretty here. I'm just going to do a little more of this. Get into these areas, but I'm going to add one more color, and I'm not sure what color that's going to be. I feel like maybe it should almost be a brown, but we'll see. Because again, I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Every once in a while, I'll make a card and I'll color something and I'll show it to my daughter, Alicia, who is a trained artist, and I'll ask her, I'll say, does this look okay? And she's so sweet. She'll say, yeah, Mom, looks great. And then I do it. But see, that's part of that fear, and we've got to get rid of that. We've got to get rid of the fear and just have fun. All right, a little bit more of this, and then we'll shade those leaves. And then I'll show you the yellow one. I did a yellow one. I was playing around with it today, and I was going to do the yellow one live, but then I thought, well, I already have the yellow one done, so then I can show you two versions. The yellow one, I got really brave, and I was almost done, and I thought, oh, you know what these petals need on this yellow coneflower? They need some turquoise, and I added a little turquoise in, and that was very frightening to do it right at the end, but sometimes that works, and it kind of looks pretty cool on the yellow one. I'll show you that. I think against the yellow, it turned a little green, so it looked pretty natural. But this is so easy to do. And I do get asked about Gamsol. So let me tell you what I know about Gamsol. Gamsol is an artist-grade odorless mineral spirits, and it is different than the odorless mineral spirits that you buy in a hardware store. And I'm going to highly encourage you not to get your odorless mineral spirits in a hardware store. When I first started stamping, I thought that that was okay, and I thought, well, it's odorless, but I'm telling you, the odorless mineral spirits that's in the hardware store, it's not odorless. And it made me feel sick after a while. On the other hand, I can sit and color with Gamsol all day and I never smell it and I never feel anything from it. But it's made for use inside and it's made for artists to use. So, you know, it's different. And I don't know why it's different scientifically. I'm not a scientist. I don't know, but I can tell you just the way I felt when I was using Stump hardware store, that was not a good thing. But this is totally fine and fun. Okay, so there is my coloring. And come on, guys, you know I don't know what I'm doing, but that looks pretty fun, huh? All right. So I don't know if you guys have questions. I'm going to just scroll down here to see what are the stump sticks called you're using. These are called blending stumps. And this brand is Creative Mark. I like this brand, but I've used other ones too. The big key to making a blending stump work well, if you're having trouble with it, is before you use it is to prime it. And by priming it, I mean take sandpaper, an emery board, nail file, something, and rough it up, rough that surface up, because some of them are so tight that they can't absorb the Gamsol, and then it's all squeaky and weird. And I know a lot of you don't like that squeaky stuff. Okay, so that might be a little too dark. Should we try a little? Just because I said it was a little too dark, I think we should try it. Although I was thinking brown might be better, but I'm going to try just a little bit of this. Okay, we'll just put a little bit of that just right at the top, just to get it a little darker. Looks pretty good. This is, I don't know, I'm sure that you all know who Kathy Rakusin is. She doesn't like Gamsol. In fact, I texted her today and I said, look, I want to show you what I'm making tonight. I said, but you don't want to come and watch because I'm using Gamsol. And Gamsol, it makes her blood run cold, the sound of the blending stump squeaking over the paper. But she always has these like nuggets of gold if you watch her videos. And one of the things that she told me is when you're coloring, like add a little white on the tips of the petals and add a little dark in the nooks and crannies. That is her phrase. I think she should patent it because I had never heard of that before. And she is just an amazing colorist. So if you want to go over to her YouTube channel or check out her Instagram, she's Kathy Rack, and she does some amazing coloring. You guys probably, a lot of you know her from the 30-day coloring challenge on Instagram and on Facebook. So I'm trying to do my best Kathy Rack here and just add a little bit of this dark color in the nooks and crannies, close to the top. I think she'd be proud. So, and I've tried some of these techniques with the ink blending and then coloring with Copic markers over it, and that worked out pretty well too. I don't know if that long-term damages Copic markers at all, but I certainly haven't had any trouble with doing it that way. So if you're not a colored pencil fan, you can always try it with your markers or even water-based markers, just adding a little bit of a complementary color in there. But colored pencils are really fun, and especially because if you mess up, you can always go over it with a little Gamsol and smooth it out so it looks a little smoother. All right, so I added that second color in there, and I don't know if you can see that on the screen or not, but I will definitely take a close-up picture. Oh, I hope somebody, yes, Kathy Rax, Kathy YouTube channel. Thank you, Simon Says Stamp. Thank you. Yes, she is amazing. Okay, so I think I'm going to leave this like that for now. And then I think I'm going to go on to these. So I'm going to use a blending brush that has some green on it. You see this green? I'm just wiping most of the green off. And then I'm just going to go in and see what that looks like. That's not bad. So color, I know that the last color green that I used on here was Lucky Clover, but this is a very, very light version of Lucky Clover. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. So there, now you can start to see the leaves coming out, and this will be a lot more obvious once I get some colored pencil on there, and then of course when I cut it out, you'll really be able to see it up against the dark cardstock. So a couple greens here. I think I'm going to use the Kelly green. I'll add a little bit of dark Kelly in here. You can see I'm just going into like the little nooks. And then I'm going to bring that color out using the blending stump. Okay, so let me find a different blending stump here. Here's one that's ready to go. And I'm going to dip that into the Gamsol. This one hasn't been used for a little while, so I need to really saturate it. And then I'm going to work that green down. I'm definitely going to use another color in there too. But you can see that just smooths it out. Can you hear it squeaking? I know some of this is weird, but weird is a side effect of awesome. In case you didn't know that. So if anybody's ever called you weird, you just tell them that. That's just a side effect of awesome. Okay. Color a little bit down this side here. My point is really sharp. I'm trying to go light on it. Okay, that looks good. And then if I wanted to use one more color, I could even use something like a yellow in there. I wanted to add a little bit of a highlight in there. And then just blend that all together. I actually like that. I didn't think I'd like that, but you see, I tried it anyway because I'm addressing my fear in front of 1,600 people. I know you won't judge. Hopefully some of you are coloring along with me. I don't know how many of you do that, but I do know that usually after my lives, a whole bunch of people show what they made in our Facebook group. And that's really fun because most of them use the same technique, but they have, they're using different stamps, or they're using maybe a different coloring medium. They're doing the same kind of technique, but they put their own spin on it. So it's really fun to see. So I hope you'll come over and give our group a try. Okay, that's kind of pretty. I like that. Okay, so that's going to be our leaf design. Now I'm going to do it 2 more times. So what is Gamsol? That's a great question. So Gamsol is a solvent. It's a solvent that artists use to kind of break down the wax in pencils and maybe some waxy pastels, things like that. Gamsol will smooth it out and make it move a little bit. So I've actually done that with like a Crayola crayon, where you color a little bit of crayon and then you take some Gamsol and it breaks it down, and it almost like liquefies it. I know I'm saying all the wrong scientific words, but that's what it does. It breaks down the wax and it makes the wax move. And you can find Gamsol, of course, at all of your favorite craft stores. You can find it at fine art stores. You can find it over at Simon Says Stamp. And we don't have it at Gina K Designs. That's something that we don't carry, but I use it a lot. I'm sure you guys have seen me use it for other types of cards that I've made. And basically, I'm just going around the perimeter here, and then I'm just blending that toward the center. Then I'm going to add that yellow in there. Looks kind of nice without it, but hey, let's add it. We did it on the other ones. And then I'll just soften that all together. So if you're used to Copic markers, Gamsol will lighten up the color a little bit because it kind of dissolves the wax and liquefies it and moves it and spreads it. So a little bit like a colorless blender pen, but it's different. It's just a whole different way to color. And it's very fun and very relaxing. And I have a lot of fun with Copic markers. I do like Copic markers, but I don't have as much control with Copic markers as I feel like I have with pencils. Because with pencils, I mean, I can just, I could just do that. Where when you do that with a marker, it moves, it kind of spreads into the paper a little bit. Same with watercolor. I mean, I look at like Lydia Fiedler, the way she does watercolor, and Kathy, the way she does watercolor, and Christina Werner. I mean, they are like, they're amazing, and they have so much control with it. I don't have any control with it, and it just goes everywhere. So I do the cheater's method of embossing first, because embossing is a great way. It's like having the sides of a pool up. You can pour the water in the pool and the water doesn't come out because it's got sides. Well, when you emboss, you actually raise the edges so the watercolor doesn't creep out of the sides. So again, I do the cheater's method, but it works for me and it's fun for me. All right, a little yellow in there. Well, I really like the way these leaves are coming out. I didn't think I was going to like it that much. Sometimes you have to keep going, though. You can't, like, give up too soon because it doesn't look good right away. Don't give up. All right, and then I'm going to do the back of this one, whatever part that is. I'm going to do that the same way. And then every once in a while, I'll have a little color on my blending stump, and I won't clean it, and I'll just add that color in just to see what happens. And sometimes that gives you a pretty cool result too. Like if you had a little blue on the end of the blending stump and you just added it into kind of the nooks and crannies here and there. Okay, so now let's look at that closer. We have the leaves done and we have the flower done. And I think this technique is making me look like I know what I'm doing. I love it. All right, so I'm going to die cut these. Let me move my Gamsol out of the way so we don't have a Gamsol emergency. And I might add a little bit more brown to the top of that. So I'm going to just do that with a little bit more of this warm cocoa, just so that I can get a little bit more color in there. So you really see it. And then I will wipe away the excess. See, a lot of it just rests on top because there's a lot of white in that design. I almost feel like I want it to go over the edge a little bit. I know that's scary, but I'm going to do it. Go over the edge. Because when I die cut this, I want that brown hue going around the top. There we go. That's what I wanted. See what I'm saying? Okay. So now I'm going to switch over. I'm going to be over here because my die cutting machine, I can't get it under the camera. So I'm going to do it off to the side here. And I really don't want you to just have to look at the handle. So we'll just go here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my Spellbinders machine to die cut these out. There is a die set that coordinates with this, and I have it saved in the same pouch. And this is a jumbo die. Look how big that die is. And then I need the leaves for this. And then we're going to turn this into a card. And then I'll show you the yellow one that I did. Okay, where did I put my plate? Okay. So for this, you guys know that I like to make a template sometimes. I'm going to wing it this time. I've got a little bit of purple tape here that I'm going to just tape it down. And I'm just going to wing it. I'm not going to make my template. And one of the reasons why I'm not going to worry about it too much is because I have that ink going along the outside of the flower as well. So if it's not cut absolutely perfect, it's still going to look pretty good, because there isn't really a white edge anymore. I got rid of that white edge. So let's see what that looks like. Oh yeah, that looks good. Here, let me show you what this looks like on the overhead camera. See? That cut out pretty nicely. But there is, of course, the white embossing powder, but outside of the embossing powder, you still have color. And I like that look. I think that's really pretty. All right, I'm going to lay that there. And now you can really see what it looks like, because it's not on white powder. It's on, you know, it's not on white paper. It's up against a dark paper, and it really makes a big difference. I definitely think this technique lends itself to these, you know, brighter, lighter colors of coloring, and then having your card panel that you put them on being a darker color. And that's what I'm going to do tonight. So I'm going to cut out one of these leaves. And I know you can't see me doing that, but I will put the leaves down as soon as I cut them out. And then we will carry on. Excuse my hand here. Oh, that's very distracting. I'm going to go back to this camera here. That's very distracting. Okay. So this one, you can see what that looks like on my overhead camera. See, that looks pretty nice there. And then we have one more to cut. And welcome everyone who just joined us. I see some of you joined us a little bit later this evening. We're actually, these flowers and leaves were colored using ink blending and Gamsol with colored pencil, or colored pencil with Gamsol blending. So I did like a cheater's, I think that should be the name of my channel, like cheater's ways to do things, because I never put the time into learning how to art, but I definitely put time into learning how to craft. So I do the quick and easy methods. Okay, so here's the other one. You guys can see how those turned out. And I think they look pretty good. Okay, so I'm going to get this die cutting machine out of the way, and then we'll move on to our card. So I really like the way it looked on this, so I'm going to use that same color, and this is Stormy Sky. And then I already set up a greeting, but maybe I should do a different greeting on this one. So I used the Much Love greeting. Let me show you the stamps that I'm using here. This is Lovely Words. I could do a happy hello. I think I could probably make that work. I hope I don't regret it. But one of the lessons tonight is that we have to lose the fear of being wrong when we're being creative. that we can really hinder our creativity by worrying about not doing the right thing. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to go for it here. A happy hello. And this hello is so scripty that I really only have to make sure the words a happy are straight. And I'm going to do this again with, I'm going to emboss it in white. So I'm going to ink it up with embossing ink. And then I'm going to stamp it. And I don't have a sleeve tonight, so I have to just rough it. Okay. It looks straight. Yeah, it looks straight. Okay. And now I'm going to use some white embossing powder here. And if you get any in places you don't want it, make sure you brush it off before you emboss. Okay. And now I can emboss that. Let me get my heat tool and let me get the Misti out of the way. I will clean that later. I'm definitely going to have to change the background paper here because it's too confusing. All right. That looks good. Happy hello. Is that embossed enough? I think so. So let me get a different color paper here so that I can really line things up. There we go. That's better. And we'll get my pieces. Ooh, that does look so nice on there, doesn't it? So the one thing that this flower definitely needs is a stem. And there is a stem in this stamp set. It's a long stem. And what's really cool about it is you can bend this stem. So, you know, if I were to stamp the stem like that, I mean, that wouldn't look very good. But I can bend the stem so that the flower can come in. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to bend the stem on this block. Just going to turn it into like a C, like that. And then I want to see where I want it. So if I put it here, then I can put the flower here. Yeah, so I'm just going to stamp it right like here because it's going to cover a lot of the stem anyway, the flower head. Okay, so I'm going to stamp this again with VersaMark. And I'm going to stamp it right onto the card. Just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to emboss that in white as well. And I'm going to color it. And I'm going to color it so it sort of matches the leaves. But because I'm coloring it on gray, I'm going to have to be tricky about it. So let me emboss that first. Get the little bits of embossing powder off. Okay. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to take a white pencil and I'm going to lay down some white first. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm going to try to get a color that's similar. It doesn't have to be exact because this is really, this stem is kind of going to blend into the background. But let's see what I have that's close. I think this might, I'll color it first, like this, on top. And then I'll add just a little shading down the one side. Might even try to move it a little bit with some Gamsol. So I'll go with that Kelly green. Down the side. I don't know if you can hear Teddy. She's moving around here in my stamp room. She had a good day today. Little teddy. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of Gamsol and just kind of blend that together. And then if I really want to add something, I can go in and add just a tiny bit of that yellow. It's probably hard to see any of this detail. I think that should look pretty good. Okay, so now let's get this piece onto a black piece of cardstock, and that'll flatten everything out. So here is a, wow, that's not very straight. Oh yeah, it is. Okay. I'll use some of the Gina K Designs tape runner. I have everything all over me. Embossing Magic Pad, and my nails have never looked so bad. But they are crafters' hands right now, guys. And shipping department hands, too. Okay. There we go. And then this whole panel is going to go onto a white card base, which I happen to have a million of all ready to go all the time. So I'll put that on there like that. And this is my dot runner, K Designs adhesive dot runner. I really like this one because it's forgiving. If something doesn't look good immediately, you can pick it up real fast and then you can move it and it doesn't tear the paper. But once you get it situated and it's where you want it, it becomes permanent. Okay, so I hope my happy hello wasn't a bad choice. We'll have to see how the leaves fall. Well, yeah, that'll work. Yes, I like that. Okay, so that's going to be the layout for that card. So yeah, I'm sorry. There's trolls in here. I don't know. Are you guys able to get rid of trolls? I don't know if I can. I mean, I think Tom might be watching and sometimes he catches them. I think Heidi might be able to catch them, but I don't know if there's a little thing where you can report them or delete their comment, but nothing like a troll when you're trying to craft. So I'm not gonna do any fancy lifting or anything like that with any kind of adhesive. I'm just gonna put it right onto the card, just flat right on there. And same with this one. So, when you don't have the mojo and you don't know what kind of card you want to make, just color a whole bunch of coneflowers and just put them in a box. I'm telling you, there's going to come a time where you're like, oh, I really want to make a card and I wish I had some pieces all ready to go. And you will have these beautiful coneflowers ready to add to your card. Okay, let me put that right there. Okay, so that is the finished card. It really makes a difference against the the dark gray. It was much harder to see on the white. Okay, so let me show you the yellow one that I did. Remember I said I added a little turquoise into the petals? Here's the yellow one. So let's lay this one out. And this one I used Much Love. So I'll do the same thing with this one. So that's going to go right there. And I used a lot of yellow in these leaves. Like this whole card feels very yellow to me, but I like it. Okay. And let's see, we can turn that a little bit. There we go. So there's the yellow version. So you've seen both of these flowers, right? You've seen the purple ones and you've also seen the ones in yellow, but you could do really vibrant brick red and do bright pink and do flowers that don't even exist and make your own. There's so many different ways that you can do this with this stamp set. So those are my finished cards for tonight. Yeah. All right, let me get myself back in here. Here I am. That was a lot of fun. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that technique. It is, it's super fun to do, very, very easy to do. And yeah, I'm sorry about the trolls. Try to ignore the trolls. Try to think of the trolls as having very sad, lonely, boring lives, and they have to crash a crafting video to feel good. Sorry, trolls. Okay, so creativity. So here's just a really quick little quote about creativity. And I love this quote, and I think I'm gonna print it out and hang it in a frame and maybe do one of the mega wreaths around it because I just love this quote. Creativity is intelligence having fun. So don't forget to have fun. Just sit and relax, make little bits and pieces you can use later. Don't put too much pressure on yourself to have to create a whole card. Just sit down, play with parts, cut things out, color things, and just relax and have a good time. That's the best way to get your creativity jump started. Thank you guys so much for coming tonight. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you'll give these techniques a try. Make sure you head over to our Facebook group, Gina K Designs and Stamp TV Friends. We'd really love to see you over there. All right, you guys, have a great night. Love you all so much, and I'll see you again on Friday night for Flashback Friday. Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.